What is up, Growth House family? Jesse Ray, your host. I'm here with Myles. I'm about to launch Immersion. Our mastermind starts tomorrow, and I'm excited to have you on the podcast, bro. Welcome to the Growth House podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. This is honestly an honor. When I had the opportunity to do this, I was like, oh, absolutely, this is amazing. I love what you guys are doing. I love what you're doing. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Well, let's dive in, man, because you have an inspiring story, overcome a lot of things, and still just have an incredible outlook on life. We were literally talking for like 10 minutes before the podcast, and I had to say, stop talking. You have too many mic drops. I can drop too many bombs on this podcast. So let's start where you're at currently. Real estate, what does that look like for you? Just lifestyle, and then let's take a step back and how'd you get there and
Yeah.
kind of that come up story.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, where I'm at right now in real estate, and mind you, this is how I feel about myself, right? I'm no guru. I'm just a guru, right? I'm just out here doing the business and learning. So that's number one. But what I will say is there are a lot of things in real estate that I'm doing. And there are things that I don't do. So I don't do new construction currently right now. I'm not doing developing, subdivisions or multifamily and whatnot. That's not my specialty. But what I do is a couple of things. So in the residential real estate space, I flip houses. So buying properties cash and flipping houses, right? The whole, HGTV, remodel thing everyone knows. That's been really awesome. Have about 7 projects going on regularly, right? Or at, anywhere between 4 to 7 projects happening at a time. So right now we're at about 7. And then I buy and hold real estate. So I have rentals, if someone wants to know, like, what's that like, the rental game. I have Airbnbs, midterm, long term, that whole experience. I wholesale real estate. And I think what a lot of people kind of learned about me being in real estate first was sort of my desire to really understand creative finance. So I do a lot of creative finance. A lot of people, I kind of teach that and help people with. I bought my first rental property in Easley, South Carolina, at 1.5% interest, $4,000 down, and it was seller
Yeah, we're
financing.
gonna dive into that one.
Yeah, that was fun. And then I mean, I've bought properties 0 down, 0 interest. People, why would someone sell to you 0 down, 0 interest? And there's a number of reasons. But so I do a lot of creative finance. I buy houses taking over mortgage payments, so subject to. I'll buy a house creatively, so on seller financing, and then sell on seller financing. So a lot of people, they want to get out of their corporate job and they go, you know what? I want to make some money passively, and I want to maybe get out of my corporate situation or, get out of my job. So let me just start buying rental properties, and that cash flow will get me out. Anyone who's really in this business and buying, they will tell you the journey of just buying rental properties to build up enough cash flow. I mean, it's definitely it's definitely a challenge for where most people in terms of our cost of living is today. And what I tell people is I don't buy real estate for cash flow today. It's a very, very important thing that the real estate cash flows. But at what degree, that's up for discussion. I'm not buying real estate long term for cash flow because anyone who knows fundamentally real estate is a long term game when you're buying and holding. So even if I'm making $100 a month, there are people who may not think that that's a great deal. But if you don't truly understand the fundamentals of real estate, now mind you, this is if all the other things are covered, right? So $100 a month, net. So I'm speaking in the sense that you understand how to underwrite real estate, and you've looked at all the fees, and you're not just like, oh, my mortgage payment is $500 a month. I'm renting it out for $1,000, so I make $500 a month. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying net after all expenses. Everything that you're obviously putting aside, capex, all these different things, and you're still netting anywhere between 150 to 200. To some people that's not sexy, but it's a long-term play. There's so many other reasons why you want to buy real estate outside of just the cash flow that you get from that. Depreciation, leverage, whatever. I can go on equity, all the different things, right? And so, anyway, so that's kind of what it looks like today. And then the other side of me actually going out and buying real estate and doing all what I'm doing, which I do land, mobile homes, the whole 9 yards, is really helping people get started in their journey. I find that the biggest challenge that I hear from the many, and I've worked with hundreds of people at this point now, is that most people either two things happen. They're overwhelmed because there's so many ways to make money in real estate. So my job is identifying where's your life right now? What are the resources you have? What makes sense for your journey? I'm not going to tell you, what to do. I'm just going to explain to you, these are options that I've seen that make sense for what your lifestyle looks like right now. And it just helps to kind of, identify and single down into, like, instead of all the million different ways you can, arbitrage and Airbnb arbitrage, rental, long term, short term, flipping, wholesaling. We can go on. There's so many ways to make money in real estate, right? And then the second challenge is people go, well, I don't have a lot of money, so I don't know how I'm going to get into real estate. So anyway, I'll kind of stop it there. But that's kind of, I teach people to understand you don't need a lot of cash in the bank to really get involved in real estate and to start growing your business. But anyway, I'll leave it at that for right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're very well versed, it seems like, in a lot of different asset classes within real estate. So that doesn't happen overnight. So
No.
take us back. Like, how'd you even get started in real estate and why real estate?
Yeah, which is really funny because, sometimes people have, like, hey, my mom and dad, they were contractors, or my mom was a realtor, or, like, my dad or mom, they own a couple rental properties, or, my friend, whatever. I knew absolutely zero zip about real estate when I first got started. So if anyone knows my story, I was actually a wedding and commercial photographer before I got started in real estate. And people, oh, I was doing weddings and I was legit, like, traveling the world doing weddings and commercial. It wasn't like just like a little small side business. So a lot of people know me from Netflix. I was the photographer for Love Is Blind on Netflix. The first season where that popped off. I've traveled all over the world: Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Mexico, Dominican Republic, Canada. I mean, go on and on and on. Worked with tons of celebrities. So, and I'm not, that's not to be boastful. I'm just painting the picture of, that was my thing. That I was an artist creating, doing, wedding commercial photography. And My wife and I, once we got married, we were living in Atlanta, Georgia. We moved to Greenville, South Carolina, and COVID happened. So, once COVID happened, no one really could prepare for that. One of the first unique experiences that we've all, in terms of the world, really kind of went through. And so that was the first time for me as an entrepreneur. I'm like, man, this is my whole business evaporated. And when you're a guy, and you're single or whatever, I mean, you'll sleep in your car if you need to figure it out or whatever, right? But at this point, I have a wife and a kid. I had to figure something out. And so really just kind of out of fear a little bit, I started, like, searching and trying to find things to do to make money and whatnot. But I just truly believe God's timing is just so powerful, because I've done so many types of businesses. I mean, my wife and I, we met because of network marketing. I went to UGA, University of Georgia, but I didn't finish college because I started doing really well in network marketing and traveling all over, speaking, wrote a book, did all that good stuff. And I've done e-commerce. I've sold an e-commerce business with pet portraits online. I've done all the kind of things you get, photography.
Miles, man,
So,
your life seems like you should be 70 years old, man. You
oh,
got like 10 different lives.
no, man, dude, it's just, you know, people say, follow your passion, right? Follow your passion. And I actually, I don't, and this is me personally, right? Everyone has their thing. I'm just speaking how my mindset works. Is I don't really encourage, it's not that I don't really believe in that. I think if someone is following their passion, that's great. But what I would encourage someone to do is to follow their effort. And what happens is when you follow your effort, you identify what you focus on, what you like in terms of what you put your effort towards. Um, you'll realize you'll start to prioritize that in a way where you're learning things faster than others. You're doing it more than anyone else, and you will become passionate about it. But and the reason I can say this is because, I'm a very passionate guy and I have a number of passions. I'm very passionate about singing. I'm very passionate about, music and other things, sports or whatever. But I didn't follow that journey and commit to just my passion. I followed my effort. What were the gifts and the things that the Lord gave me that really, attributed to my effort. So anyway, that I digress a little bit, but that was kind of your answer to all these different things, is just really kind of following my effort. Um, but uh, um, but yeah, man, I don't know if I answered your question, but
So
yeah.
the transition from, I mean, Love Is Blind, videography, doing the weddings, to then to actually get into real estate. What was the catalyst for that? Did you join a
Yes.
mastermind? Did you go to meetups?
No, so kind of as I was saying before, I was really kind of frustrated and out of fear, trying to look for things to do. And it wasn't until I just really kind of like, you know, like, was at peace about the fact that at the end of the day, the Lord will provide. Like, if I'm going to move my feet, right, the Lord will guide my footsteps. And sometimes as Christians, we think, okay, let me just sit and pray for a Lamborghini, and a Lamborghini should show up. And ultimately, the reality is we can't do God's part, and God will never do our part, right? And so at the end of the day, our part is we still have to actually utilize. There's a reason why Adam and Eve were in the garden and they had work and they had to tend, to this place that the Lord created. and that we are here to create. We are made in God's image. We're here to create and do. And so it's not about the doing, it's about where the heart position is. Right. And so my heart position changed. That's kind of what I believe. And then, it's kind of like that phrase, when the student's ready, the teacher appears kind of thing. My heart position changed, and the Lord just opened this door to wholesaling real estate. It was just so random. I mean, I was watching a YouTube video, and I'm like I said, I've been in so many different businesses, and I've never heard about wholesaling real estate. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And so I watched this YouTube video, and this guy was, tagline, make money without, using any of your own credit or money and all this stuff, and I'm just like, there is no way this guy's doing this thing, and I can't do like this. This crazy. This is crazy. And so I studied wholesaling. This was in January of 2020, and I just studied it for a whole month. And that was really my transition. We can dive into other things about it in depth, but that's how I got my start into real estate, is through wholesaling, and this would change my life.
That's amazing. And then how'd you hear about creative finance? Because I think that's a hot topic that a lot of people are talking about right now. Obviously, once the rates went up, people are like, can't cash flow. And I know a lot of people in our community are looking for cash flow, which you mentioned is not a major focus for you. Is a major focus for you, obviously, the benefits of real estate, but also appreciation? Is that what you're looking for? Or I guess I'm curious, for you as a person that also owns investment properties as a rental, what do you look for?
Yeah, so no, it's a great question, and let's maybe back up. So we've all heard like, well, if we're in real estate, we've heard like of the Burr method, right? BRRRR, Burr method. Buy, rehab, rent it out, refinance, repeat, Burr method. And so I kind of have this concept called the KISS method, right? So instead of BRRRR, it's KSSSS, and the whole idea is keep some, sell some, scale. And the reality is there are people who get boxed into an aspect of real estate. And if you're truly an entrepreneur or an investor, it's not about just I'm a flipper or I'm a landlord. It's all about, do you understand how to invest? When money goes out, more should come back out, right? When money goes out into something more, if I put $1 in the ATM, if $1 comes back out, I don't really believe that's investing, right? If $2 comes back, okay, now we're investing. We're going somewhere here, right? And so for me, the reason why I'm saying that is because what I noticed that there were individuals that's their thing, is that they're just, a buy and hold individual, or they're just a flipper. So when a deal comes by, they're not able to solve a problem for the seller based on being an entrepreneur and an investor, because they're boxed into like, I'm a flipper. And so the reason why I say I'm not buying for cash flows, because if I was just like, I just need cash flow because I'm just focused on cash flow, then I'm losing on opportunities where there are better benefits or other benefits that could actually, increase my net worth or just add value to my life that's outside of just that. And so, you know, in terms of how I hear about creative financing, maybe we can talk a little bit more into that, but basically I was wholesaling. Like I said, I got started in January 2020, studied it all of January. February, I started, hitting the ground running, marketing, bandit signs, driving for dollars, cold calling, all that stuff. And for the next like 6 to 7 months, I did about 100 grand. And I ended up being on like the Flipman's, YouTube channel, and kind of, was popping off as this new guy in South Carolina, coming out blazing, doing all this, stuff in wholesaling. And then life happens. I got hit by the drunk driver. So if anyone doesn't know, I'm an amputee. I'm disabled. I'm technically disabled, but on my website I say I'm disabled but not unable, right? And so basically on my left leg, it's cut through the knee, so it's replaced with a prosthetic. My left arm doesn't work at all. It's in a whole brace. A lot of the muscle was taken out, so my fingers don't move. My right foot has a whole brace on it because it has foot drop, so I can't lift my foot on there. And there's plenty of other things we can talk about that, but I'll just fast forward to the idea that thank God for the wholesaling that I did. We were able to live off of cash that I had basically made through wholesaling. But what I noticed is that cash just kept depleting and kept depleting and kept depleting. So I just knew, like, okay, and I kind of knew this before, but I was like, all right, now I'm really experiencing what it means to have, to start buying and owning some assets, right? And so at that time, though, it wasn't like I was going to go to the bank and get a loan because I didn't have W-2 income. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're trying to buy, investment property or real estate, you don't have W-2 income and all the different things. I mean, it's very difficult, if not almost impossible, to just go to the bank and just get a loan. And so I had to get creative on how I was buying real estate. And the two things that allowed me to transition from just flipping paper, essentially assigning assignments of contracts or wholesaling, was learning creative finance and raising private capital. So every bit of real estate I do today, I mean, and people know I'm buying a lot of stuff, doing a lot of stuff. Like I make some good money. We're good. I'm taking care of my family, everything. Even me having cash today, I'm not using my own cash to go buy real estate. And that's what I learned is most, if not all of the successful people that I sort of saw and was learning from, they weren't even using their own money. Even if they were making money, they were leveraging, right? There's power in leveraging to be able to scale and do more. And so those are the two things. That's kind of why I learned about creative finance, or why I started diving into that. Um, I just started looking for creative ways to buy real estate. And then, you type that in anywhere, you're going to start to see little videos talking about subject to or seller finance. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I started diving in and learning about all those things: seller finance, subject to, wrap mortgages, all that stuff. And kind of, went down a whole rabbit hole. And yeah.
I love that. And there's a couple things I want to touch on. Number one, let's go back to life hits you, man. Like, that's not a little life hits you. It's not like, for me, like, my ceiling collapsed or something
Yeah.
minor within real estate. This is real life stuff
Yeah.
that hits you and can break a person.
Yeah.
You have a wife, I believe you maybe have one or two kids at the time. Like, this is something that changes a lot of things.
Yeah.
How were you able to bounce back from that and
Yeah.
just keep such an amazing positive outlook on life?
Yeah. 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 So I'll say two things. I've shared this story a lot, and there's two things that really allowed me to move forward when this happened. Um, One was preparation, and then two was execution, right? And so what I mean by that is, and this may not be for everybody, but hey, if you're not there right now, this is a good time to start, right? Is preparation for me when the accident happened, which is only like, I don't know, 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years, about 3 years ago. I had been doing personal development for almost a little over a decade, about 10 to 11 years. So we're talking all the greats: John C. Maxwell, Darren Hardy, Les Brown, T. Harv Eker. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. Jim Rohn, just on and on, all of them, right? I mean, I would go to sleep listening to their YouTube videos, all their audios, reading the books, Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence. I can go on and on and on, right? All these different things, right? And so because all of that is in me, right? The results around your life is not based on what you want. You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you allow, right? And everything that happens in your life that you allow is based off of your mindset. Your mindset produces what's inside, will produce what's outside. We know that. When you plant a seed in the ground, right, we see the fruit that comes from the tree above the ground because of what was planted in the ground. How do you know and why is there orange juice when you squeeze an orange? Why is there orange juice when you squeeze an orange? Because there's orange juice inside an orange. It may sound kind of funny, but what I'm getting at is whatever's inside you will come out of you. It's never about what's on the outside. So there's a quote that says, the same sun that melts the wax hardens the clay. See, the sun didn't change, but based on what you're made of, what's inside of you, you're either gonna melt or you're gonna become strong. And so anyway, what I'm getting at is, I have worked on my mindset. I think a lot of people overlook strengthening and developing your mind. um, we live in a beautiful, amazing world and a beautiful life. But I mean, let's not be naive. Life is very challenging and hard as well. And so, anyway, part A was, I had done a lot of personal development that allowed me to get through difficult things. Okay. But the second thing was my faith. Truly, without question, this is not me trying to be here to try to preach and promote anything. I'm not, I do not understand how people can operate in a world that is spiritual, and there's a lot of things that are happening in our world, and attribute it to just, we're just an accident, or a bang happened and we just kind of came together, or just the universe does this, or just there's just something that just kind of does stuff. And just, dude, I mean, I don't understand. Me personally, I know we were put here on this earth for a purpose. We were created in somebody's image, in God's image, right? We were made in God's image, right? Biblically, in my mind. And if you know anything about the story of Jesus and who Jesus is, and his father and our father, I mean, it provides almost an unfair advantage on how to get through life, because there's a type of source and power you cannot get anywhere else. When you can love people in a way that's so radical, even despite you being hurt. Like, where do you even get that kind of, where do you get even those kind of, attitudes and characters from? So anyway, when the accident happened, the first thing that had to happen for me was forgiving the lady who hit me. I have never had any ill feelings or anything negative towards her. And people, it's not just some motivational that it truly, how can I ask for forgiveness from my Father in heaven if I can't extend it to someone here on earth? Right. And for me, at the end of the day, let's make it even more practical so it's not so spiritual, but let's just be honest. At the end of the day, can we agree or not agree that she didn't wake up and intentionally try to harm me, right? I mean, let's agree that that obviously wasn't the case. It wasn't like she just woke up. She didn't even know who I am. I'm going to drink alcohol. I'm going to get crazy because I want to crash into Myles. So what does this mean? It was a mistake. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. And so have we not ever made a mistake and would have hoped whoever was on the other end of that mistake would want we would want forgiveness from them. We would want them to know that we weren't intentionally trying to hurt them. And now look, yeah, let's be honest. It's not like maybe you put someone, Jesse, and someone in the hospital and had their leg amputated. Maybe I didn't put someone. I know I haven't put anyone in the hospital to have their leg amputated, but it doesn't matter. We've probably amputated people emotionally. We've amputated people, spiritually, in all kinds of other ways. It is still harming someone without you intentionally doing it was a mistake, and you would want forgiveness as well. And so anyway, all these things obviously it all stems down from where my faith, my foundation is, but then practically allowed me to do that. And so see when you can let go of things that don't allow you to thrive in life, then you're no longer surviving. So I didn't have negativity, I didn't have anger, I didn't have any those things don't allow you to thrive, right? It keeps you focused on what happened and that already passed. You know, Les Brown says all the time, like what happens, Jim Rohn says that, right? It's not about what happens to you, it's about what you do with what happens to you, right? And it's true because what happens to you happens to everybody. Literally, whatever's happened to you, it may not be the very exact same thing, but the idea is we all go through challenges. We all are fighting battles. So if we're all fighting battles, if we're all going through challenges on the earth, then what's really the dividing factor? What really separate? It's the people who, despite these things happening, they thrive rather than just feel, in captivity, or they feel defeated, right? And so obviously there's more practical things I had to, you know, let's just kind of get a little real. I mean, for weeks and weeks, this is how I kind of had to live a little bit. I imagine sitting on a bed in a hospital. All you hear is beep, 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 super quiet, and you're just sitting in your thoughts. You're gonna have thoughts of like, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, this would be much better and easier if I just had died. You're gonna go through that stuff. Like I had to go through those things, right? Like, why me? Like I was in crazy pain. Like literally, if you see any of those photos, if you just follow me on Instagram, I have them pinned at the top. You know, you can pin. They're at the top, and you'll see how bad it was. Every limb was wrapped up and destroyed. Every limb, my left arm, left leg, right leg. I could not move. The way I had to go to the bathroom is they call it a bedpan. They basically I had to essentially be rolled over on one side of my body. It was super excruciating, painfully. And then they slid this metal pan under you, and they roll you back over. You poop on yourself, and then once you do that, you roll back over, and they wipe your behind and clean you up as much as they can, and then they remove the pan, and then you sit there, and that's kind of a part of your life. I had a feeding tube. I had to relearn everything: how to talk, how to walk, how to do everything, right? And so the question is why me? Easily, that everyone's gonna say, why me? Anyone who's listening to this, you ask those questions. When things happen that you don't desire, you go, why me? And if anyone knows me personally, here's the funny thing, right? I don't even like alcohol. Oh my gosh, how funny can this be? I don't even like the irony of that. I do not like alcohol. I don't drink. I've never. This is literally what happened to me is one of the reasons why I don't. Right, and that's so funny. But then this happens to me. And how many people do you know in your life, Jesse, that look like me, amputated, have all these injuries? I'm in a very, very, very small group of people, and I'm like, why am I have? I love the Lord. I'm raising my family. I'm being a good husband. Like I don't even drink. And so we ask that, why me? But here's a better question: why not you? Now, I'm not putting that on anyone like I wish you go through it. But what I'm trying to identify is how life works. Why not you? Why not me? What makes me so big and bad? What makes me so, just because I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, I'm exempt from challenges and things that happen in this world? There's death, there's sickness, there's disease, there's people that are angry, there's people there's all kinds of things that happen. And oh, because I believe in the Lord, or whoever, whatever anyone believes, you believe in the universe, whatever you want to believe is in your power. Your life, you're so cute, you're so handsome, your life looks such a way, you are untouchable. There's nothing that can happen to you. Dude, that's just not how life works. So that was one of the things I had to come to realization is like, wait a minute, what do you mean, why me? Why not me? Like this happened. Things happen in life. We live in a world where things happen. But it's about what I do with what happens now. How do I glorify the Lord? How do I love people in despite of this that radically transforms other people's lives? How do I live a life where I'm thriving, not surviving, so people can see if they haven't ever seen it before? oh my gosh, no matter what I go through, it's possible to get back up as long as I'm looking up and not looking down and my head down. Right. And so me having that mindset that allowed me to get through all the different things. Practically, I still had to learn how to, dude, I was doing 45. Anyone who knows me, I'm very fit. Dude, I love the gym. I'm doing 50s, dumbbells, 55s. Brother, I'm telling you, I was in my wheelchair, and you can go on my Instagram. You see videos of that. I have now a 5-pound weight in my hand, and it's so hard to lift that. Can you imagine being a guy, athlete, fit, strong, and you're in a wheelchair with a 5-pound weight, and it's like, you're like doing workouts with that. I mean, it was crazy, right? So, but anyway, man. So that's a little bit about that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about what happens; it's what you do with what happens. It's not to minimize. It's not minimizing the hard things and challenges. But like I said, the reality is okay. It happened. Now what? And so I had to get up. I had to move forward, and that's what you and I were talking about a little bit before we got on here. Is it's the 3 things that I always try to encourage people. You have to understand and identify your purpose in life. So once you defined your purpose, the next thing is developing that purpose or developing yourself for that purpose. So A, defining your purpose in life, B, developing yourself for that purpose, and then C, deploying in this world what that purpose is calling for you to do. Actually taking action, right? It's one thing to know you're an incredible artist. It's one thing to know you're an incredible designer. One thing to know you're an incredible entrepreneur, all these different things, and then not do anything with it, right? And so all of them are matter. And so because I knew what my purpose was, secondly, I've been developing and still it's a forever journey, still developing myself for that purpose to be better. Third, I mean, it all is all hand to hand. It was taking action. What happened. I got to move forward, right, and deploy myself within this purpose. And so, anyway, that might have been a long
La-
answer. Hope I answered your question.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why I had to cut him off in the very beginning before we recorded, because this man has dropped so many gems. Bro, what a beautiful testimony too. A quote that I really like is, "Your tests become your testimony," and that's exactly what you're doing right now, brother. Like, just sharing this story and encouraging people and showing people that, hey, yeah, life is gonna hit you, but there's a way to get back up. And for you, it was doing that personal development and also having faith in God, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And now, dude, I get to enjoy what I do every day, man. Real estate is my. Dude, I'm not distracted. I'm not doing a million. Dude, I'm all day, every day real estate. You know what I mean? I'm a real estate entrepreneur. I always have an entrepreneurial mind, but I'm heavily focused on building. There's so many ways to make money in real estate. It's like you can never get bored here. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of that's been my focus right now. So flips, rentals, Airbnbs, all the different things, teaching people, helping people. So yeah, that's where I'm at now, man. So it's a blessing.
I love it. What does it look like 5 years down the road? I mean, you just got into this game less than 5 years ago. So if you can imagine, what is 5 years? What is Miles doing in real estate? Or what I really think you're going to be doing is people are going to be going to bed listening to your YouTube videos, bro. They're going to be listening to you and putting you up there with Les Brown.
Yeah.
Like, for real. Like, you
No,
have
no, man.
something powerful and special, man.
Yeah, I said that earlier. Maybe I emailed that to you guys or whatnot. But I'm an average guy, but an average guy with above average drive and above average dreams. You know what I mean? And so everybody is this within them, right? Again, it goes back to the same sun that melts the wax, hardens the clay. Like we all, it's just developing that with that which is already within you, right? And so, not everyone might like that answer, but again, this is who I am. This is my mindset. What am I doing in 5 years? Bro, I have no idea. Right? I don't even look that far. I don't plan that far because if you truly believe, if I truly believe what I believe and who the Lord is, like there's no way I can even know that. And what I look for is this: A, am I doing all that I can today? Number one. I think a lot of people um um they sort of they overestimate um you know what they're going to be doing or what they can do 3, 4, 5 years down the road, and they underestimate what all they could be doing today, and that how each day makes up a week, and every week makes up every month, and every month makes up the year, and every year as you see moving forward. So the idea is let's break it down to how are you operating day to day, right? What are the things that we can improve on today? Are you procrastinating in certain areas you shouldn't? Are you identifying that, and are you taking action and putting forth systems, processes, growing in that, trying to break through, break out of that. What are the things that you can just change and develop today? And so I'm always just focused on how can I grow more, how can I learn more, how can I serve more. That's the biggest thing. My ministry, it's just serving others with my story and with what I'm doing in real estate. How can I just do more of that? And so obviously I know it's not the sexiest answer, but I don't know what I'll be doing. Dude, you got to understand, you asked somebody, what are you going to be doing 3 or 4 months before COVID happened, and then COVID happened. It's like we have no idea something can happen in 2 weeks from now that completely alters your life. I was a wedding photographer on top of it, doing all this stuff, and literally 2 to 3 months later, I'm in a completely different industry doing a whole nother thing, right? Um, and ultimately, we make decisions in our own life, but I truly believe, at the end of the day, the Lord knows what's going to ultimately happen down the line. And as I said before, we cannot do God's part. He won't do our part. And our part is what can we do today? Because that's the only thing that we can do. Because yesterday already happened and tomorrow you're not even there. So what are you able to do today? Right? And if we can focus more on being better every day, starting today, with today, and not living on someday I'll do this. Someday I'll get better at my eating habits. Someday I'll start going to the gym. Someday I'll start waking up a little bit earlier when I know I should, because I always complain about I don't have enough time to do something. Someday I'll stop saying that, I need to get better with time management, because you can't manage time. Time is always the same, 60 seconds, 60 minutes, an hour. It's managing your activity, right? Someday I'll get better on personal developing. Someday I'll get better at serving more. Someday I'll get better at giving more and stop thinking that we live in a pie world, and if someone takes a piece, there's less for everyone else. I'm going to start living more abundant. There's so many things. Someday I'll do these things. And it's like, what can we just do today and start implementing on that each day? So anyway, whatever that I'm running around here now. So I'm going too quick.
Nah, man, you good. Now I'm loving this conversation, and I think people are going to get a lot away from it in the sense of, why does he think like that? Oh, that's interesting. I think my life would actually be better if I thought like that. And I think it's especially important for people who are just starting, and even people who are experienced real estate investors, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, we can grow in our business, but our personal life and our own personal development can slowly, fade away. And then we're like, why can't we grow? Because I don't know if it's a John Maxwell quote. I'm going to butcher this one, but you might be able to save me on this. But like, you're only able to grow to like your leadership level or like your
Yes.
personal development level or something like that.
Yep.
It's an amazing quote, and something that I keep on thinking about. Like, okay, maybe I'm getting more successful in certain areas of life,
Yeah.
but I got to remember, I'm only going to get so far if me, Jesse, as a person, is not also getting better as well.
Right. Well, the idea is what John C. Maxwell talks about is you're only able to lead somewhere where you've been. You can't take somebody somewhere you've never been. How can I help you get somewhere and I've never even been there? That doesn't make sense. So your level of leadership, it defines where you operate. And your life will move in different directions and continue to move forward, but it starts with you growing and developing your mind to another level. Because here's something I tell people all the time. If you already knew what you needed to know to have what you wanted, you would already have it. I'll say it again. So if there's certain things in your life that you're not experiencing just yet, a lot of times it's just a lack of knowledge. And we all know this, right? When I first got started in wholesaling, there are things I'm doing literally today that I wasn't doing there, not because I already knew it and it just didn't happen. I just didn't know. I'm learning things as I go that are allowing me to do more things. Just as simple as buying real estate. I could be doing this when I was 21 years old or 20 or 19 or 18. I know 18-year-olds that are buying real estate with other people's money, OPM, right? And how are they doing that? Is it because they have the capability and I didn't have the capability? I absolutely have the capability. I just didn't have the education, the knowledge, right? The knowledgeability. So I had to get the knowledge and then apply that. And so anyway, yeah, that's the idea there is, yeah, mindset is everything, man. Mindset is everything. And if for people who are just getting started, that's one of the main things that I always see that really have people throwing in the towel is it's just their level of commitment. One thing, oh my gosh. So I have, mentorship, wholesale freedom. So I, help people, obviously in real estate, everything like that. And one of the questions I get all the time, and again, people, they get involved in mentorship thinking that they're going to learn a bunch about real estate, and they do, and they are. But a lot of times I find myself really retweaking mindsets and working mindsets because some things right off the bat, I'll hear them say like, well, so they just got started and thinking, so how long do you think it'll probably take? Like, what's the average time it usually takes for you to like kind of get your first deal? And like, you got to meet people where they are. Like, I get it. They're just trying to think like, dang, is it, what's the expectation? Is it going to take like, 1 year? Is it going to take like maybe 6 months or take 3 months? And here's the reality. Here's what I tell everybody. It doesn't matter how long it takes, because however long it takes, the time is going to pass anyway. So why does it even matter? It took me 4 months to get my first deal. Okay, that's great. That's irrelevant information for you. And why is that irrelevant? Because it could take you 4 years. But here's the funny thing. 4 years is not going to go by anyway? You can't stop time. 4 years is going to go by. And so if you decide not to because you're comparing to me, and yours is going to take longer, which is just comparative. Longer just means longer to what? You're comparing. So the reason why something's short, long, big, small, it's comparative. And so because you're comparing, which you'll never win when you compare. Because when you compare to someone else, you're always going to compare their advantages to your disadvantage. Always. That's just what comparison is. You're always going to look at what their advantage is to your disadvantage, not realizing that there's actually no one who's better than you or worse than you. You are where you are. It's all about knowledge. It's just like if I go talk to a doctor right now, and he is proficient and articulate in biomolecular whatever and whatever I'm not, as you can imagine. You hear me fumbling right now. Does that mean that guy's smarter than me now? Doesn't mean that he's smarter than me. He just knows something that I don't know. But would you agree that I probably know some things he doesn't know? I mean, the brother might not know Spanish, and people can hear me, and this is how I sound. But I'm actually Hispanic. I was born in Panama, Caledonia. So yo hablo español. I could be like, sí, yo nací en Panamá, yo me voy aquí cuando tenía como antes. Be like, whoa. Be like, yeah, bro, I know Spanish. You don't. You know biomolecular, blah, 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 whatever, and I don't. But we come on. You know what I mean? What are we comparing, right? And so I start changing that mindset that, dude, people throw in the towel because it's a challenge with commitment. And we need to bring that back into conversations. And anytime you hear these taglines like, and I get it, there's a place, time and place for everything. I get it. There's a reason why we need clickbait here and there and things like that. But I tell people, when you see the, $3 million in 3 years, 0 units to 85 in 24 months. Who cares? I mean, there are some amazing things you could learn from that. But okay, let's do that. Let's take positive things and try to apply that to our life. But why are we going to now compare their advantage to our disadvantage? You may not know, but there's certain things in their life that weren't in your life that allowed them to have that opportunity, that they were able to have that opportunity. And that's okay too. When I got started, I had nobody in real estate. I have buddies of mine that are doing $1 million flips right now. And sometimes, I'd be like, man, dude, that's crazy, dude. That'd be so dope. And then I think about, man, like I'm thinking of someone even right now, like they have their entire family involved in real estate. Like their mother and father, they were doing real estate. They brought them up in, and that's what I'm going to do with my kids. I mean, I'm going to do it too with my kids, right? And my kids are going to have an unfair advantage. Yeah, they're going to have an unfair advantage over someone else as well in that thing. But comparing doesn't do anything because the other individual is still incredible and can develop and create an amazing life as well, right? And so we need to stop comparing and thinking about what anyone else is doing, right? And we need to stop focusing on how long it's going to take to get somewhere because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. When I got started, I just said I'm going to do this until. I didn't think, I wonder if it's going to take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I knew it worked. And here's the reality. If it works, it works. It's never the horse, it's the jockey. If the horse can run and the horse works, it's never the horse's jockey. It's like when you're out golfing. I don't know if you go golf and you see the brother that like hit the ball and it like slices and they look at the golf club. You know what I mean? It's like, brother, it wasn't the golf club. Come on now. You put that same golf club in Tiger Woods' hand or something like that. It's like, dude, damage, easy, right? So it's never the thing. It's you, right? And so we just have to become a better you, right? And so anyway, dude, I can go on and on, but whatever.
Myles, as we wrap up, bro, like I think we might need a part two because
Dude,
you just
yeah,
came
I
with
love
some
that.
heat, man. We need that. All right.
We need to dive
So
into
this
some real estate deals, man. Like one of my last deals I just bought, 533 South Boundary. I throw out the addresses. I don't care. I own this property. It's in Manning, South Carolina, and I bought it subject to the mortgage. Creative Finance bought it subject to the mortgage. I don't know if you have time. I can literally 2-3 minutes talk about this.
let's do it. Let's do a quick
This is
dive.
the
Yeah.
power of subject to. So long story short, here's what happened. A boyfriend bought a house in Manning, South Carolina. He put the girlfriend on the deed. A lot of times, what people don't understand is the debt and the deed are two completely different things. Okay. And so the girlfriend is on the deed, but the debt is in the boyfriend's name. That's very important. So I don't know. Maybe he assumed they were going to get married later. It doesn't matter. But she had her own house and he put her on the deed. Unfortunate things happen. Unfortunately, he passes away. Okay. And, interestingly, we're all entrepreneurs here and things like that. And we all think real estate's cool and things like that. Dude, honestly, people be surprised. Not everyone values and sees real estate the way we do. And so this lady who inherited this property, everyone's always like, man, you inherited a house. Like, dude, you're so lucky. You're just freaking amazing. You inherited. Dude, to some people, it's a problem. They do not have the money, the resource, or the time to do anything with this property. It's not producing any income. So there's no value there. And it's just a path to cash to them. Because if not, then now it's just another expense. They're already living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, that's great. They inherited this house, but now they got to come up with $2,000 at the end of the year to pay property taxes on a property that's not producing anything for them. And so they'd rather just would you rather just have to come up with another $2,000 that you already don't have, or if this house is worth about 120 or 80 grand or whatever, and just convert it to cash? Most people, they just convert it to cash. It just makes sense. So anyway, long story short, the reason I'm saying that is because she just stopped paying the mortgage. Well, she didn't stop paying. She didn't pay the mortgage on it because, again, the debt was in his name. And she didn't pay any of the taxes, though. She owned the property, so she really, there were her property taxes. She was the owner. But she didn't pay any of the taxes because she didn't have the money, and it wasn't a big deal to try to get the money. So anyway, that's where I come in the picture. We'll save some time on how that all happened, but I came in the picture, and I had about 5 days left before this house was going to go to the tax auction. Because if you don't know, if you have real estate and you don't pay your property taxes, they can sell your property for the taxes that are owed. It's called a tax auction. You have foreclosure auction, you have tax auction. And so her house was about to be sold at the tax auction. And so here's the challenge. If anyone knows anything about real estate, in order for me to buy this property properly, I need to go under contract. See, I live in an attorney state. So every state in the country, you're either a title state or an attorney state. And so we live in an attorney state here in South Carolina. And for me to buy this property, I would need to take this property and I need to go to an attorney and we need to run title. That could take anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks. We don't have 2 to 3 weeks because it's about to go to the auction in like 4 days. Okay. And so now it's creative time. How do I make something happen here? She owed $1,700 on the taxes. Crazy, dude. I'm just like, dude, I would have done whatever it took to just pay the $1,700. But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. Okay. So she owed $1,700. And so even if it was just $1,700, I'm not gonna just buy the property without it being like me having ownership. Because if I just pay, someone might say, well, dude, it's just $1,700. Why not just pay it so it doesn't go to the auction and then work out the deal? Well, because if I just pay it, okay, block, never talk to this guy, she disappears because she owns the house. I'm basically just paying her taxes. So I got to figure out a way to own the asset to then be able to pay, but I have to do it in 4 to 5 days. And so what I came up with is essentially I explained to her how right now, if this deal doesn't happen, you're just going to lose the house completely. It's just going to go to the auction. There's nothing. You're just going to get nothing. It disappears. So why don't you allow me? Is there any reason why you wouldn't allow me to give you $5,000 of equity in this property? And the answer is, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, she would obviously want to do that. And so what I did is I ended up putting a $5,000 lien against the house with her name on it. So now she has $5,000 of equity. If I ever refinance, sell, whatever the case may be, she has $5,000 towards that property. And then we just transferred over the deed. We did a quick claim deed, transferred over the deed. Now I didn't run title, but for me, the deal was so awesome and so juicy, it didn't matter. I was willing to take the risk. So you do have to understand that if you're listening, if you ever buy a property with a quick claim deed, you don't get title insurance, where the attorney or the title company, they insure that on title, you're opening up the opportunity for something to come back on you now because you're the new owner. So the reason why we get title insurance is to make sure, okay, everything's clear. There's no issues with title and you're buying a property where nothing's going to, bite you in the butt later on when you're trying to sell or refi or do whatever. And so I was willing to take the risk though, because we're talking $1,700. Okay. And here's what we're talking about. And this goes back a little bit to what we talked about the type of deals that I'll buy. Right. And so the house has a mortgage on it. And I said, if you haven't been paying this mortgage though, this thing is probably in foreclosure. So we need to figure this out. And so we reach out to the bank, dude. I can send this to you, maybe show it to your people, whatever. Like I will send you screenshots of the email. I had her email the attorney that was hired for the bank because payments weren't being made on the mortgage. And this is essentially, I'll save the time, and specifically this is what happened. Because of the nature of the default, the boyfriend passed away. They could pursue foreclosure, but they didn't. They charged it off. So the mortgage is charged off. There's $53,000 left on the mortgage, and the house today is worth about $195,000 to $200,000. So we're talking day one over $140,000 of equity. And here's the even crazier part. I asked them, what do I need to pay to reinstate the mortgage? And their response is, there is no reinstatement amount because, as we said before, we have charged it off. We're not currently pursuing foreclosure. We've just charged it off. But we would like to work with you on principal payments only towards the balance. So there's two things right now. There's technically like a loan that kind of exists but doesn't exist, and it's only $53,000, and the thing's worth like 200 grand. And then from the bank, this isn't creative finance, seller finance. The bank is allowing me to pay $255 a month on this house. It's a 2007 build. Go look it up. 533 South Boundary Street. Put it out there, Manny, South Carolina. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath. Looks like a typical like subdivision house, pretty house, 2-car garage. And so I have a tenant there for $1,100 a month. Payment on there is like $255. I've tried everything impossible to try to make the payment. No one even answers the phone. They're not even, it's like charged off. They don't even care. So I'm still kind of putting stuff away just in case anything happens where I got to pay off 50 grand. But technically, as it sits right now, I'm renting it out for $1,100 and the payment is principal, is zero interest from the bank, $255 a month. And I bought it subject to the mortgage. I did not have to pay off the mortgage. It was a creative deal. That's another 147,000 net worth equity right there, automatically. If my wife and I and our family were on the streets, we lost everything, I could just sell that house and have over 100 grand just by selling the house. And that's the power
Power of real estate and getting
crazy.
creative, man. I
Yeah,
love
man,
it.
it's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. So anyway,
As we wrap up, how do people connect with you? And when people do, no one's going to say, hey, Myles, can I pick your brain? They're going to lead with value because that's
I
what our
love
Growth
that.
House
I love that
community
you
is
said
about,
that.
man.
Oh my gosh,
We're a
please.
go-giver community. So how can someone lead
Yes.
with value and connect with you?
Yeah, I did it. I hate when people say, "Oh, let me pick your brain." I'm like, "Oh gosh, here we go." Anyway, yeah, man, there's a number of ways, but two of the easiest ways. One, my name, Myles Berrio. That's just me all over the place, right? So MYLES.Berrio, Berrio. I mean, I'm Myles Berrio on Instagram. I'm Myles Berrio, on Facebook. I mean, Myles Berrio, right? But I do have my website, which is milesberriogo.com. But I have a lot of resources. I have my own podcast. I have obviously my mentorship community. I have a free group. It's just called the Real Estate Learning Community on Facebook. So if you just type in the Real Estate Learning Community, I started about a year ago. I had like 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, 50, or 500, 700. We have a little over 1,200. I'm going on 1,300 people now, and that's just people all over the country that are just wanting to be in my space and energy and community and what I'm trying to build, which is competition, working together, collaboration over competition. This idea that we're not in a pie world, but that we can, 50% of a watermelon is better than 100% of a grape, right? And sometimes we're so focused on trying to get the grapes because it's 100%. It's like, brother, if you just partner with people, if you guys collaborate, 50% of a watermelon, would you rather take 50% of watermelon? I'd rather take 50% of water than 100% of a little grape, right? And so I'm trying to create that, foster that and build that, and then also faith-based, obviously, and everything involved with it. Anyway, that's how people can connect with me, for sure. And
I love it.
I'll even go as far as to do this. If you really, really want to connect with me, because that's who I am, I'll give you my number, 706-814-2821. 706-814-2821. Dude, I don't care. People are like, oh,
That's a first. That's a
I'm
first
throwing
on
my
the
name out there.
podcast.
Yeah, easy, dude. Why not? It's like, what are you going to, I mean, dude, what are you going to do? We're going to take all my real estate. I have a whole corporate structure. I have a trust where I have my holding company. My trust is the holding company is beneficiary of that trust. And then I have all my LLCs under that holding company out of Wyoming. There's nothing people are going to take and find anyway. You won't even find my information anywhere online. I mean, it's just like, other than things that I'm doing real estate or whatever, So anyway, there's my number. You can hit me up anytime, and yeah, we can connect for sure.
Myles, it's been a pleasure. Jesse Ray, Growth House Podcast. You become who you surround yourself with, and it was an honor to surround myself and hang out with you, Myles, for the last hour.
Thank you, brother. Seriously, this was a pleasure, and man, I'm totally down to do it again and really dive into some real estate stuff if we have to. So
Let's go.
yeah,
Part 2 coming soon, folks.
Let's go.